Wuthering Waves has just revealed the effects of the new standard banner weapons, and you're probably wondering if they're actually any good. That's what I'll be doing in this video. First off, starting with the new sword. The new sword, called Laser Shearer, is going to have a base attack of 587, give 38.8% energy regen, and on its passive it will give 12% attack and 24% skill damage bonus if the enemy has Toon Interfered Strain on them. I'm going to be extremely blunt about this one, because I can already tell at a glance that this sword is going to be incredibly low value. And it all comes down to one very specific thing, and that is the fact that it's an energy regen sword. Yeah, simply having the energy regen substat makes this sword just a lot less good than it realistically could have been. Because here's the thing. We already have Emerald of Genesis, which is a crit scaling sword. It's very hard to beat Emerald of Genesis, but now you're gonna completely grief its chances by giving it a stat that almost no character wants to actively build for? Yeah, that's when you start getting into hot waters. Sure, Brant is an energy regen scaling sword user, but the passive basically just doesn't really do anything for him aside from the 12% attack, meaning that you're really only going to see a 2 to 3% damage increase compared to Blood Pact Pledge. And if you remember, Blood Pact Pledge is entirely free. So are you really going to spend your standard pulls on a weapon that's only a 2 to 3% damage increase on your Brant, or are you going to use them on literally anything else that's more useful? This sword is dead on release, simply because of an energy regen stat. And while we're on it, let's get the Rectifier out of the way as well, because they decided to pull the exact same prank on us twice. Because yes, the new Rectifier also has a base attack of 587 with a 38.8% energy regen stat. And much like literally every single other weapon in the series, it gives 12% attack just in the passive. I'm just gonna stop mentioning it from this point onwards because it's on all of the weapons. You can just automatically assume that the 12% attack is there. But there is more on the passive. When anyone in the team casts a Toon Break skill, whoever holds this weapon will gain an additional 12% attack and 12% basic attack damage bonus. Now, here's the thing, right? That passive actually isn't too bad. I would say it is, in fact, better than the Cosmic Ripples, but here's the thing. It's an ER weapon. And yet again, just like the sword, we don't have enough characters that scale on ER that actually want damage. At least the sword had Brant, but the Rectifier has no one. And honestly, I really can't say anything positive about this weapon. Sure, it's an ER Rectifier, and ER Rectifiers are good because of characters like Shorekeeper and Verena. But the thing is, you want to put variation on those characters because of the Concerto energy. The energy regen is nice, but we have more than enough weapons that give us energy regen, like for example Call of the Abyss or Rectifier of Voyager. Because guess what? Those characters don't care about their damage output, so this weapon having higher base stats and a damage focused passive isn't doing these characters any favors. So we yet again have a weapon that's trying to buff your damage, but just instantly griefs itself by giving it ER as the secondary stat. So yeah, I wanted to get the Rectifier and sword out of the way as soon as possible, because they are complete bait. Do not get these weapons. If you're pulling for these weapons, you are actively wasting your pulls. Anyway, with all of this negativity out of the way, it's time to get back to some good weapons, because now we're in for some actually just pretty solid weapons that I would say are worth getting. Starting with the Broadblade, the Radiance Cleaver. It yet again has a base attack of 587 and has 48.6% crit damage as its secondary stat. Yep, you heard me right. Broadblades finally get a crit option. But first I want to say what the passive is. When you attack an enemy that is affected by Toon Interfered Strain, you will gain 24% liberation damage bonus for 3 seconds. And yet again, this is actually pretty solid to get on the passive. Now, I'm not gonna say it's all sunshine and rainbows, because you actually do need a character who's capable of applying Toon Strain Interfered. Which means that currently, you're stuck with lynae, sorry brother. But here's the thing, that doesn't matter. we're looking at a standard banner weapon here, which means that simply having crit as the secondary stat instantly makes this thing better than Lustrous Razor for nearly any character. The only character I can see it being, not as good on is maybe Colcharo, because he actually has free skills and wants to use them. But literally any other Broadblade character, they're gonna prefer this weapon purely because it's got crit, and crit is better than attack percent. It's honestly just really simple. Get crit on the secondary stats, you're instantly going to be a better weapon than if you don't have crit on the second stat. I know, crazy how that works. So honestly, the Broadblade is actually worth picking up. And sure, currently we're limited on the amount of characters that can get Toon Strain interfered on enemies, but I don't think that's gonna last very long, because clearly to me, Lahai Roy is going to be about exploiting the Toon Break effect, and thus we're gonna get more characters that are able to apply this effect naturally. And even when Lahai Roy is over, we're most likely still going to see more characters with Toon Break mechanics, which means that this 24% liberation damage bonus might not be as exclusive in the future as it is now. And if you do get the benefit of the 24% liberation bonus, well, it's just better than Lustrous Razor again by 3%. So yeah, in my opinion, the Broadblade's worth picking up. And that brings us to the pistol, because this one is actually pretty interesting to talk about. It yet again has a base attack of 587 with 48.6% crit damage. And the passive here is actually pretty interesting. It's pretty similar to the Rectifier, where whenever anyone in the team casts a Toon Break skill, the wielder gets an effect for 14 seconds. But the effect this time is 20% damage bonus for all attributes. This means that this is a universal pistol. If you can trigger Toon Break in the team, which any team in the game can do that, you just get a universal 20% damage bonus. I don't think I've ever seen a standard banner weapon that has this accessible of an effect before. Even Emerald of Genesis had a maximum of 2 stacks, meaning you wanted to be able to use your skill twice per rotation. Sure, it wasn't literally required of you, but still, you would want to cast 2 skills. This pistol's only requirement is just getting a Toon Break skill off, which any team in the game can do, and the buff you get for it isn't even super niche. It's very easy to abuse on literally any single character. So I can definitely see this being very good for any pistol DPS. Now the reason I say DPS is because for supportive characters, we still have the GOAT Static Mist. So it's going to be very hard to actually compete with Static Mist if you're in a more supportive slot like lynae. But if you're a character who is like where they have very high personal damage, I can definitely see this new pistol being better. And if you're playing a main DPS, this is definitely going to be better than Static Mist because it buffs yourself rather than your team. So overall, I'd say this is actually a good weapon. Definitely worth the pickup in my opinion. And that finally brings us to the Gauntlets, which, yet again, you're gonna get tired of this, has a base attack of 587, but this time it gives 24.3% crit rate, which we're gonna get into a very similar situation as the Radiance Cleaver here, where, oh, you have crit on your passive? Well, you're instantly better than the attack buffing previous option. But first, let me say what the passive is. When you deal damage to an enemy that has Toon Strain interfered on them, you gain 6% basic attack damage bonus for 3 seconds, stacking up to 4 times, which is a total of 24%. I don't know why they decided to make this one a stacking one, and then the Broadblade just gives it to you instantly. That seems a little weird to me, but that doesn't matter, because it's gonna be essentially the same thing as the Broadblade. Everything I said about the Broadblade carries over to these Gauntlets, where it's literally just, it gives crit, so it's better than the other option. And then, sure, the damage bonus effect is currently harder to activate, but that's the thing. Currently. That's not gonna stay the case for very long if my theories are true, because I do believe we're gonna get more Toon Break characters that are able to apply these debuffs, which means that this passive is going to become less exclusive over time. And even if that didn't change, it's already better than Abyss Searches, simply because of the crit. So yeah, if you're playing any Gauntlets characters, I'd say this is worth the pickup assuming you don't have their signature. But that's just my opinion on the new standard banner weapons. Let me know what you think of them down in the comments below. And while you're down there, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Additionally, if you have any questions, you should join my Discord server, which is linked in the description below. If you just want to see more of me, you should also check out my second channel, which is also linked in description. I don't post there as often, but when I do, it's just kind of what I'm passionate about. But that'll be all from me. Peace.